Next, from the House chamber of the old state capitol in Springfield, a depiction of how President Abraham Lincoln might have responded to reporters' questions at a press conference held in April 1865. This event was organized by the Abraham Lincoln Association of Illinois as part of the 2009 commemoration of the bicentennial of President Lincoln's birth. This runs about 40 minutes.
It's a pleasure to be here this evening and to have such a fine representation of the media present. And I'm accustomed to having them coming to the executive mansion and waiting in that line on Wednesday for my public opinion baths. But somebody with greater wisdom than me saw fit to have them all come together at once. And I guess just have it out right here in front of all you. So in this April day, I am pleased to announce to you personally that the surrender has been received at Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. I have asked the Federal Marshal of Washington City, Ward Hill Layman, to head down to those parts that he could get the document himself and bring it to me at the Executive Mansion. So he will be gone for several days, but I do expect him back with that document in hand, and again we will celebrate. And I think for the band I will request Dixie. It is ours again. Well, let's commence with questioning. Yes, sir. And who are you and what outlet are you with?
My name is Jim Leach, and I represent WMAY, which is a media outlet from your home state of Illinois, Mr. President.
Excellent, excellent. What can I do for you this evening?
In your recent inaugural address, you mentioned binding the nation's wounds with malice towards none and charity towards all. Many people are asking, though, why should the nation show charity towards the people who sought to tear the Union apart? And as a follow-up question, I'd like to ask you what you think should happen to Confederate President Davis and the leaders of the Confederacy.
Well, I'll answer the first part first and the second part second. As to, I'm thinking maybe Thaddeus Stevens must have come over and was talking to you fellas out in Illinois, because that sounds like one of his questions. And he's there pinning me down saying, they got to pay, we got to punish those fellas. And I'm not about to penalize the South if they are willing to come in and back to the Union peaceably. They had that opportunity all along in 1861 and 1862 and 1863, 4 and 5, and I never wavered from it. Now, as to that fella Davis, it's my understanding he has snuck under the carpet and has disappeared. So as far as I'm concerned, as long as he's staying out of sight and we can't find him, then maybe that's all right with him. But if he does sneak out and we find him, then that's going to be all right for us. But I think he's going to need a stern talking to when he gets back. Yes, sir. They're sure a well-behaved bunch, aren't they?
Mr. President, you had a good round of applause. By the way, my name is Terry Martin. I'm with the Illinois Channel. You had a good round of applause on the surrender at Appomattox, but General Joe Johnston is still in the field. The Confederates still have vast areas under their control. President Jefferson Davis is still on the loose. When you say that you're having victory here, members of your administration say it may be years before you have removed the Union forces from the South. So what, sir, is the exit strategy for getting out of this quagmire?
Well, I find it interesting that you would quote members of my cabinet. And to my knowledge, Chase has all but used up the Treasury Department, and now he's with the Supreme Court, so it can't be him talking. And Secretary Seward and the other fellows have kind of acquiesced in on a policy of Reconstruction, so I know you ain't talking to them. So I guess I'm just questioning who you're talking to in the administration. But understanding, and you have the right to ask a question, a critical one at best, this is what I'm saying to my critics whom you're quoting. And while we're talking about critics, there come a time when I was in the court that the prosecution had presented a flawless case, and I was kind of under the heel of his boot, and I told the jury it reminded me of the time a boy come in from the barn, and he said, "Pa, Sis is in the haymow with the hired man. He's dropped his drawers and she's hiked up her skirt. Pa, they're fitting to pee on your hay." So, to my critics, sir, if you would take this message back, I have this to say. You can have your facts all right and draw the wrong conclusion. As to those Confederates, though, sir, when you cut off the head of the snake, the death of the body ain't too far behind. And I don't think they're long for supplies and such when knowing they can peaceably re-enter the Union. That's a good question, and I'm going to keep my eye on you. Yes, ma'am.
Michelle Eccles from WTAX Radio in Springfield, Illinois. While you have this surrender and you talked very little about your exit strategy, what's your plan to unite the country again?
We are ready to have a country that is whole again. As I said in the first inaugural, after taking the oath of office the first time, it was my duty to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, so help me God. That Constitution is now whole. We will see friendly legislators elected as far south as Mississippi and Alabama. They will come back to the Union with governors supporting the Constitution of the United States. A peaceable reconciliation is what I have planned and what I aim to see carried out in my last term as your president.